Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fire Tuna Club. What's up, my bitches? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. However, I'm still working on the problem. This video should not be flagged because it has nothing to do with kids content. This is a wonderful episode of Discourse with Kat. My topic today is actually going to be something we all struggle with if you're a creative person. I even pulled my Instagram followers. Thank you to everyone who submitted answers. Look at all these wonderful people who helped out suggest things that everybody has probably already asked themselves. So I'm going to start with one question for you that you don't have to answer right now. Maybe you just need to think on it and find what the answer truly is to you. Why do I do this? That question right there is pivotal. That you have to remind yourself. That question is going to be your affirmation when you are in doubt, when you have no willpower to move on because this, that, or the other thing has worn you down. You need to remember that answer. That answer will help you. It will not ever make the questions go away. It will make the questions happen less, give you something to fight against. Those questions of doubt, the questions of motivation. That answer is what you need to remember. For me, it's fun. My craft is my de-stressor, my therapy, my joy for me. So, basically, I'm going to be covering a lot of questions that most people ask themselves in any creative endeavor. Okay? You know what I'm going to ask. Many of these questions you've probably already asked yourself. I'm just going to remind you how to answer back when you ask yourself those questions. Alright, one of the questions was, do my dolls stand out or are they just meh? Well, probably not. You've heard it before and you'll probably hear it again. There is nothing original. It's just a rehash of the same idea or doing it in such a way that it seems new. You know, it's almost impossible to do something someone hasn't already done, okay? So the answer to that is probably genuinely no. But you know what? You have to remember that you might not get the satisfaction you're expecting. It's very hard to meet anyone's expectations, let alone your own. Someone out there will enjoy it, and you have to treasure the people that do. And an example of using that affirmation I was telling you about, asking the same question with my answer in mind. Do my dolls even stand out, or are they just meh? Doesn't really matter if they stand out. I had a blast making her. See what I mean? You have to get to the root of what you're doing this for. Air quotes around whatever this happens to actually be. That will help you so much when it comes to your own doubts. Oh, another common question you might ask yourself. Remember this one situational, kind of replace it with your own doubts if you need to. Why can't I sew very well or reroute like other artists? Or why does it look this bad? You have to remember, when we're looking at stuff on YouTube, most of it is by far polished experience, well-practiced talents. Someone might reroute good because, you know, they have like 25 hours under their belt of rerouting and they've gotten really good at it. Or actually seamstresses in real life, so going down to miniature is not really that hard. They've got the skills and the experience to make hand sewing look fantastic. Trust me, mine's still lumpy as crap. Oh my god, I hate hand sewing. You've got to remember, practice makes better. It may never make perfect. Sometimes people just don't have the knack for it. And also determination carries you a very long way. So this one is a very common one that everyone talks about. And it's kind of like the whole thing of having an idea right before bed and being unable to sleep. The question is basically, mind, what have you done? In parentheses, battling with amazing ideas, but near impossible to do, all 1,000 of them. To this question, you need to tell yourself no. You need to get organized. And yes, you may have 1,000 ideas. Put them in the notebook so you don't forget what those ideas are later and focus on the most inspiring ones or the ones you know you can finish now. If you get bogged down in the details, the to-do lists, the shopping lists, the to-get lists, and everything else you need to do to complete all 1,000 ideas, you will never get anything done. I'm just saying, been there, done that. My craft room is full of ideas from when I worked at the fabric store, so yeah, narrow down that focus a little bit. 1,000 is too much. Oh, here's a good one. Just bear with me here. Should I show the end result even though it's awful, incomplete, I feel like throwing it in the trash? If anybody says anything negative about it, and you're not prepared, then no. because usually all these questions are involving social media or posting it or sharing it to friends. If you feel that poorly about it, perhaps don't share it. However, if you want to improve and you're willing to take critique, then post it and be like, I didn't feel so hot about this. How could I have done better? I would also hesitate to say that, again, if you're feeling that negative about a project, don't bother. Don't put yourself in that situation where you will get even more upset in the end if you don't get the feedback you're looking for. Another good question is this close to what another artist has done? That's a question that's crossed my mind lately. Well, more than likely, yes. Does it matter? As long as you're not copying, not really. Honestly, there is a perfect phrase out there that says something along the lines of nothing is original anymore. Just remember that mantra, that affirmation that I was talking about, depending on why you're doing this. If it's for, say, money, really don't copy anybody, that's bad juju. And you might want to also consider how much somebody's willing to pay for something that might have already been done. And if you're doing this for fun, does that really matter? Like, yes, I know a lot of people are complaining about being compared to other artists right now. What you need to do is ignore the fact that somebody says your stuff looks like this person's stuff and remind that person about manners. Or, you know, there's a block feature on most stuff. You can just slap that thing on there and just ignore them. This one was less of a question and more of a statement, and it kind of jives with what I say on the channel too. I doubt almost all my projects until Layer 3. Don't worry, I doubt all my projects until I can say, ta-da, it's done. Don't worry, you are not alone, people. When you're like, is this gonna come out? Nobody knows. Even the people who know what they're doing don't know if it's gonna come out until it's done. Potentially. Some people might really be that self-confident, and to those people, you rock. Share some of that. Another good question I got was, why am I doing this? This won't work. Remember that affirmation? You need to ask yourself that question first. Why are you doing this? And then you need to use that answer on whatever singular project you're doing and tell yourself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because insert answer there. As for the this won't work, how will you know until you actually do it? Granted, I've had a lot of failed projects, but I'll never know how to do it until I learn how not to do it, if that makes sense. What if no one ends up liking this doll anyway and you're just wasting your time? This is a really tough question, actually, because if you're making dolls for other people to like them, you throw yourself into that ring of nobody might ever enjoy it, nobody may comment on it, nobody may share this picture, in which case that's its own pitfall right there. If you're making art to share, yes, I know this is a very interesting question, a very involved question, and more than I could cover in just a single video, but you need to remember that while, yes, art is meant to be shared, and dolls are... you enjoy it more when somebody else enjoys it with you. Doing it for the sole purpose of someone to enjoy it and no other reason is not a good way to work in this hobby. You need to have some investment for yourself into it. Like, I know plenty of the people that don't keep a single doll, sell them all because that's how they make their money. They still enjoy what they do. I mean, they have a passion in creating dolls to sell them. Okay? You need to have something invested more, and I am doing this for other people to like it because there is never a guarantee they will, and if you're not prepared for that abysmal outcome, which usually is never that bad, trust me, someone will like it at some point, but you have to go into it willing to accept that your return will be zero, okay? Especially in social media, all right? If you're doing this for fun, yes, if you want to share it on the side, cool. But if you're doing this only for someone to like your doll and you won't feel satisfaction or completion if nobody likes it, you're really just going to set yourself up for 99.9% chance of failure. This is a good question as well. Basically, everybody submitted amazing questions, and while some of my answers seem a bit down, I'm just giving you a dose of realism in a good way. Things that you need to tell yourself in order to keep enjoying what you do, or find a way around those nagging feelings and the ultimate reality of what may happen, again, since the doll hobby is very much related to social media. What if I screw this up? What if this project idea I had turns out to be stupid and awful? Well, going back to expectations will almost always fall short. And when they don't fall short, celebrate. Set fireworks off and eat a pie because you need to enjoy those moments, okay? Just saying. when your expectations are met, if not exceeded. Celebrate. But chances are you will not be able to meet your expectations, especially if you were comparing yourself to another artist. Don't do it. It just leads to disappointment, okay? I know it's hard to do because there's so many inspiring people. You have your idols. Don't try to compare your work to them. They have different experiences, different level of talents, different upbringings, inspiration, trains of thought. I mean, they can come up with a completely different way than you might have to execute an idea, okay? Their idea might be executed better than yours. Doesn't matter. Try not to compare yourself, okay? I said it's gonna be hard. People do it. I still do it all the time. That's what the affirmation is there for, is to make that, well, I'm not as good as shut up and not speak as much, okay? Because that I'm not as good as will never go away. But you can make it only happen 5 times a day as opposed to hearing it every 5 seconds when you're working on something, okay? What if I screw this up? Try not to focus on that too much, okay? Just use it as a learning experience. For example, it took me 3 tries to get my Halloween doll's jacket how I wanted it to look, and I still wasn't quite 100% happy with it the way it laid. I learned and got better with each jacket, okay? Experience teaches you things, and if you don't start, you can never finish. Here's a good one, and one that many of us can relate to, I'm sure, because I myself do this, and I know other people are in the middle of this, and people will start this and end up here. Am I going to give up this doll midway? There's probably long hiatuses between beginning and ending on most dolls for people. You have to remind yourself how much you want to see this done. That will help. I currently have a doll that I've been working on for 1.5 years, and he is judging me in the corner. I can feel it. I'll get him done someday, but not today. Also on that same line, am I going to like this doll when it's done? Again, expectations. I couldn't promise you will or not, and if you can't, focus on what you did like about that doll. Like, I have a witch doll that I love. I really do. And then I look at her at the same time going, you are the most amazing thing ever, but I could have done better on this, and I could have done better on that, and I could have done better on this. But you are the culmination of a great start of ideas that I just need to perfect and improve on, okay? It's just like people. You can love a lot of people and hate some quirks about them. So chances are you probably won't completely love a doll. Focus on the good parts. Ooh, here's a good one, since a lot of us relate very heavily to the issues of money and execution in this hobby. What if all the money I spent in this hobby turns out to be used for nothing? Giving up after failure. Well, don't forget, even if you did spend a lot of money on the stuff, the dolls can be resold, or if you're willing to take the loss, give it to Goodwill and make some child's day. The paints can be reused if you work with acrylics. If you have watercolor pencils, learn how to watercolor with the pencils. Like, a lot of this stuff can be repurposed and reused in some way. Just because you're not doing it for dolls doesn't mean that the stuff that you spent the money on is absolutely useless. Don't forget that. Leave that as a security if you ever start feeling that you're falling out of love with what you're doing, okay? That can happen and does happen to many people. I'd say the only time you'll have situational issues is what are you going to do with the rerouting tool if you don't want to reroute anymore? But in that case, you know, how much did you spend on the X-Acto knife to get the handle, and how much did you spend on the needle? Don't worry too much about it, okay? Everything else, big purchases, you can usually find another way to use them. What do I do with this doll I started customizing but failed to continue? Well, there's 2 fantastic options you can do. First one is one I do for myself. So if you're not motivated to continue the doll, but you know you'll come back to the idea at some point, put that doll aside with everything you had to make that doll. Put it away, give yourself some time to think, rest on the idea, and come back to it if you think you'll continue it, okay? If you look at it and you go, there's no way you're gonna finish that idea, you know what you can do if you already have stuff done? Well, first, the doll can be reused to make another doll. Acetone that face up off and start again. If you have outfits and accessories that you just didn't follow through with, like you might have finished half the outfit and you just know you're never gonna finish the rest of it, it's props for another doll. Who out there has a mini-me that could use a Halloween costume? There you go. Just because you didn't use it for that idea doesn't mean you have to throw it away. Especially with how customizable dolls are, how many times you can change them out, how many times you can redo the face-ups, change the hair. I mean, the only time you can't reuse a doll for customizing is when it just falls apart on you, or you know, you overplug the head and half of it falls off. Not that I've done that. I'm gonna stop here, even though I have many more questions. This video is getting kind of long-winded. If you want to see more of this, comment below. If you like what you heard or you thought this advice worked out for you, don't forget to like the video or subscribe to my channel. Press that little bell button if you want to hear about alerts, and let's just hope that in the end, YouTube doesn't nuke me. I'm figuring it out, guys. I promise I'm sticking around, at least to some extent, maybe not as much as I was before. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Here's to hoping I see you guys in January and I have not been turned into a crater on the digital moon.